Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar on viewing the latest feature releases for Sage Intacct. My name is Ali Pakalnis, and I will help facilitate our webinar today. Before we get started, here are a few tips on using the Zoom platform so you can engage with our presenters and have the best experience possible. You should see a Zoom toolbar with icons for Ask a Question and Raise Your Hand. Please use the Ask a Question feature to submit a question or comment. If you need any assistance, click on the Raise Your Hand button and I will connect with you to help. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation, and we will do our best to answer them all. If we didn't answer your question, we will follow up with you personally after the presentation. Within 72 hours of the webinar, you will receive a link to download the slide deck and recorded presentation. Today's webinar does qualify for CPE credits. To receive your credits, you must actively respond to 3 out of the 5 polling questions and stay on for the duration of the webinar. If you have any difficulty answering the polling questions, please email elevatelearn@armaninollp.com with questions. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to our presenters, Todd Bowlesby and Jen Bowman.
Hey there, folks. My name is Todd Bowlesby. I'm a senior manager here in our technology consulting practice.
Hi, I'm Jen Bowman, manager in the tech consulting practice. I'm a solution architect for Sage Intacct and really am passionate about helping our clients really make the most out of their Sage Intacct environment. Joining us today to help field the questions in the chat are Jeremy Anderson, a Sage Intacct consultant within our managed services department, and also Forrest Shoemaker, Sage Intacct consultant within our delivery department. So back to you, Todd.
Thank you, Jen. So today's learning objectives will be to identify the latest release features of your solution, see how the enhanced user experience increases efficiency, and manage the latest release of the solution to promote productivity. As you can see, we have quite an agenda today. This release was, as usual for Sage, it was fun-filled, fun-packed release. So let's get started. First, in the company administration area, we've got some new permissions that we want to talk about here. Specifically, in this case, it's the projects and time and expenses permissions. Basically, the time sources and the time preferences permissions were already present in the My Timesheets and staff timesheets area. What they did here is broke them out so that they can be more easily managed in terms of role assignment, things like that. Next up is the ICRW, or Interactive Custom Report Writer permissions. They have a new permission called ICRW Primary Consumer. And basically what that role allows a user to do is view and run reports based on reporting areas that are typically outside of their range of permissions, which is actually pretty cool and very convenient. Couple of limitations there. Primary consumer feature must be enabled in the company, of course. The user must have access to ICRW, and yeah, we need to sign it, has to have a business user with full admin permissions and explicit permission for that particular report. They also have a new way of handling email addresses for user accounts. In the past, you had the primary email address associated with the contact record, and now they have a new, what's called an account email address. The advantage here is there's only 2 designated users that can manage that email address, and that is you, the end user, or your admin. And this basically ensures greater privacy and protection of unauthorized use or from unauthorized use, and helps things like password recovery and the like. In fact, there's another feature I'm going to be talking about shortly about password recovery as well. So last release, we talked about API usage dashboard in a multi-entity shared environment when you have all of your entities in one single instance in Sage Intacct. And with this release, they extended that to a multi-entity distributed environment. So if you happen to have an environment where you have two or more instances of Sage Intacct in a management console, so they're actually separate instances, they now have an API usage dashboard that is designed to report across all of those instances, which is actually really cool. And you can do things like filter by company type. In fact, here's an example of an API usage dashboard in that instance where, unfortunately, this shows one company, but you could have multiple companies here showing things like your total API, completed API, your failed, and you've got a number of different filters up here that allows you to leverage and filter the data appropriately. This is what I was talking about with the new permissions, the self-service account recovery. Pretty cool stuff. If you get locked out, they've streamlined the process so that it's much easier for you to regain your access to Sage Intacct. They have a self-service recovery process now in which basically there's no need to reach out to support. You simply navigate to the login, click on the forgot password area, and they walk you through the steps there. And you can choose that new account email address or stick with your primary email address. It's totally your choice there. And here's an example of what we're talking about. This is a screenshot of the login, and you'll see down here, there's the forgot password. You just click on that, and then it would email you a reset link, and then you would just follow the information from there to recover your password. So very convenient from that perspective. And the other consideration, if you are an admin, and this is something you should probably be doing anyway, is just periodically reviewing your security settings in Sage Intacct. And you do that by going to Company, the Setup tab, Configuration, click on Company, Security tab, and then don't forget to click Edit. That'll open up these passwords, and there's a security tab on there that you click on. And then you can set not only the maximum number of verification attempts for a password reset, but other things as well. And then, of course, don't forget to click Save. Don't want to lose those changes. This brings us to our first polling question. So what is the best way to recover your Sage Intacct account if you get locked out? A, contact your sales representative, navigate to the Sage Intacct login page and select Forgot Password, open a support case in the Sage Intacct community, or my favorite, phone a friend. Don't forget to get these in especially for CPE credit. Very important. You need to answer 3 of the 5 polling questions, as well as attend the entire webinar. All right, and there are the results. The correct answer is B, or the second answer there. Navigate to the Sage Intacct login page and select Forgot Password. So 85% of the folks there, great job. I love the 2% that chose, or the 3 folks that chose phone a friend. I love that. All right, moving on to the next area here. We're talking about accounts payable. There is a new line level GL account and dimension coding for the AP automation. So for those of you folks that are aware, there is a new AP bill automation functionality. And if you have it, or if you choose to implement it in the future, previously the AP automation, which leverages AI to populate the line item dimensions it saves it as a draft bill. It would use the most recent bill from the vendor to code those dimensions. With these latest improvements, it now detects patterns in how you select dimension values for individual line items over time. And so it's leveraging machine learning, and it recognizes any changes that you repeat and learns that over time, updates the AI model. And basically, That's going to do two things for you. It's going to speed up the posting of bills or the intake of bills into your solution because you have less correcting to do, and it's going to ensure what we like to refer to as data integrity. So making sure that you're coding the correct details there. You can now also export AP automation subscription usage. So for some reason you need to export the data, maybe to import into another application, you now have the ability to go in and on the subscription usage page and set up a various filters there, and then export that as a CSV file so that you're ready to import that into another application of your choice. So simplifying the list of contacts available in transaction dropdowns, that's really nice. So instead of when you click on, the pay to or something like that, and you've got like every contact on the planet in there, you can now limit that. And you'll see right down here, you can limit it to show all contacts, restrict to vendor contacts only, or restrict to contacts that are related to the selected vendors. So that is a very nice feature that will help you easily find different contacts on AP transactions. Users now notified when bills that they submit are approved. This is also important and related to specifically AP automation, because previously when a bill was submitted for approval and it came in from an automated thing like AP bill automation or an import, there was no user that was notified. And now there is. So like it says there, for example, let's say you uploaded an AP bill to AP automation, the system will create that draft bill for you as we discussed earlier with those new dimension functionality. And then you can review it, hit the submit for approval, and previously you did not receive a notification if it was approved. Now you do receive a notification when it's approved. So that's super cool. A couple of other miscellaneous updates here. If you're a user or if the user is restricted by location or department, they can no longer reverse a bill that has line items for locations and departments that are restricted from accessing. So that's an important change. Another one is, and I kind of like this one because I've been an administrator. Previously administrators couldn't delete advanced filters that were saved and created by, let's say, other users that were either left the company or deactivated for some reason. Now you can, as an administrator, go in there and delete those on the pay bills page. All right, moving on to AR. This is going to be quick because it's essentially the same thing I said on the AP side, but on the AR side. So in AR transactions, you can now, again, show all contacts, restrict to just customer contacts, or restrict to contacts associated with selected customers. So it makes that a lot easier from the drop-down perspective. And then we talked about if you are restricted as a user by location or department, you will now no longer be able to reverse invoices that have line items for locations and departments that you are restricted from accessing. All right, moving on to Sage Intacct Planning. Now you can, in terms of budget collaboration, they have these things called budget collaboration indicators. So now you can see when there are other folks working in the same budget you're in. And in fact, I'm going to show you this in a moment, but you can see here, if you've got multiple users, you can click a drop down and it'll show them all kind of on this drop down. And I'll demonstrate if you hover over the initials there, it'll actually show you who that user is. The next enhancement to Sage Intacct Planning is the ability to save as file. And this allows you to download and save all your models, statistical accounts as budget files that you can upload them to other budgets if you so choose. And then finally, you can now create custom views in the sheets. So for those of you that are using the sheets, and sheets translate in Sage Intacct Planning speak to reports, you can now create basically custom views of those reports. So let me just kind of demonstrate some of this stuff. Right now, I'm in Sage Intacct Planning. I'm in as Kai Malachi here, and you can see he can clearly see TB, and that does not stand for tuberculosis. That is my initial. I'm Todd Bullsby, and I'm in the same budget, and so Kai can see that. And conversely, if I go over to this budget as Todd Bullsby, I can see that KM or Kai Malachi is in there as well. Again, if you've got multiple ones up here, you're going to have a drop, an arrow that will drop down a list of all those. The second feature was the save as file feature there. So you just click on the ellipses over here, and that'll bring that up for you. And then you can export data so you can import it into another budget. And then finally, you can see I'm in the sheets area here on a profit and loss. This one's looking at budget only. It's by month. If I expand a little bit, you can see I've got all the entities here. I've created a custom view that if I expand it here, just hit that again. Now you can see that it is, and I actually have noticed there is a little bit of an issue sometimes. You have to click it multiple times sometimes. So hopefully they'll get that little glitch fixed, but eventually it does if you're persistent enough. And now you'll see I'm looking at budget versus actuals, right? Actual versus working in difference. And I'm only looking at the Holstead entity in my case. So that's kind of cool. And then you can always go back and hit, reset and change it back to your view. All right. Now we're going to go on to polling question number 2. This is a true-false question. There is an AP configuration to notify the submitter of an AP bill when that bill is approved by the approver. True or false? Remember, you need 3 out of 5 of these for CPE, as well as attending the entire time. And hey, I love these questions because, you got 50% chance even if you weren't paying attention. And as soon as we get around 85%, I think they'll show the poll results for us. And there you go. Yay, virtually everyone got it. That is correct. It is true. That's a new feature that, basically if an AP bill comes in through AP automation or some other automated way, and then you submit it for workflow approval, previously you were not notified and now you will be notified. Great job. All right. Moving on to cash management and my friend, Jen.
Hello. Yes, we'll give Todd a minute to drink some water and take a little break here. All right, so we're talking about cash management. So bank transaction dating. Now this is a feature that is generally available. You can control the dating of bank transactions based on the time zone of each of your bank accounts. So this will really help to avoid those reconciliation issues arising from the dates, sort of not matching due to the bank account's time zone. So how this works is you'll go into cash management, set up accounts. You'll select the appropriate account and click edit. And then you can find the bank cloud time zone feature and enable your time zone. And then, of course, as Todd mentioned, always select save. So you want to do that for each of your bank accounts. Okay. And now we can, this is an interactive custom report writer feature. So it is an additional report writer subscription. So you may be subscribed to that or you may not. So please, if you are unsure about this, please feel free to contact your client, manager for assistance. But within the interactive custom report writer, now with the introduction last release of the match sequences, to bring visibility into your bank and your credit card reconciliation matches. Now, within the ICRW module, you are able to generate a custom report to see which Sage Intacct transactions have matched to which bank transactions. One thing to note for the ICRW is there is a full subscription that's available to that module, as well as just a view-only subscription. And then you can lean on, folks like Forrest, et cetera, to write those reports for you. So, a couple options there for that subscription. And then in addition, within cash management, Canadian bank files. So there's some additional functionality for you to be able to pay Canadian vendors and employees electronically in Sage Intacct with the new bank file format. So they've added 2 new banks to support those file payments, and those are Royal Bank of Canada and Scotiabank. All right, now moving on to consolidation. So recently, the advanced ownership consolidation was released. That is functionality within the global consolidations or domestic consolidations modules. And now there is a new custom report that's available for advanced ownership consolidations. This is available within the custom report writer that comes, that's a report writing tool that comes with the Sage Intacct environment. And the primary data source selection allows you to choose the consolidation entries as your the basis for this report. But then you're able to drill down to the journal to view details such as the date, reporting book account, location, currency, credit, debit, base currency, credit, debit, exchange rates, etc.
And just to clarify, Jen, this is with the custom report writer that comes with the core software subscription. It does not require ICRW. Is that correct?
Yep, yeah, correct.
Thank you.
So now moving on to contracts, more permissions have been enabled within and again, you need to have the administrator permissions to be able to go into the company admin users and then be able to toggle through and either permit or deny these particular permissions. But within contracts, prior, any contract user who had the contract edit permission, they would be able to cancel and uncancel contracts. So now we're trying to protect these responsibilities, add a little bit more granular permission control through the contracts, with separating out the cancel versus the uncancel permission. So as a default, now those who have contracts may have already noticed this, that that permission, the edit permission, has now been replaced. So as a default, everybody was sort of disabled to have that permission. So now you will need to go back in, any admin users will need to go back in, take a look at that and enable or not the cancel and or uncancel per contract user. Okay. Let's see. So previously, cancellations to quantity-based revenue recognition contract lines, they were permanent. So now you are able to uncancel the contract line, resolve any data issues, and then go back in and cancel that contract line again. So this uncanceling process, it does unwind the system-generated journal entries that resulted from that cancellation. So it will do the following. It will delete the journal entries that were automatically created as a result of the cancellation process. It'll set the state of the applicable revenue, billing, expense schedules back to in progress. It will also set that contract line state back to in progress. So then you can go back in, fix those data issues, and then go back through the canceling process again. And then the little light bulb there, this idea came from you. So we always encourage you all to really stay connected with the community. When you press the home key, the home button on your Intacct interface, you can navigate to the community. And that's where you can suggest and also vote on different ideas. So this is one idea that was suggested and then voted on. And then it was really promoted and elevated up the roadmap to now be generally available to all users. This is the multi-element arrangement price list that you can now utilize the CSV template. Again, you can go into the company setup import data area, of the environment to access all the templates, and then the multi-element arrangement and template will be in that as well. So this template also provides, detailed, the column headers with the detailed descriptions regarding of, when a column is required, et cetera. There are also other tabs that have been included with examples of how to import different types of MEA price list entries. Can you hear me? Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so let's see, kitting. In the previous release, we enabled the ability to bundle products on contract lines using kitted items. But there was a limitation. They were only limited to the include with every invoice contract line for the flat fixed fee amount frequency option. Well, now you can use kitted items with contract lines where the flat fixed amount frequency is either one time or use billing template. So it provides more flexibility for using kitted items in billing scenarios. All right, now back to Todd for construction.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. All right, construction. So Sage Intacct has had for a while now the ability to put in insurance and miscellaneous compliance records, but before this release, you were only able to track that against the vendor, and now they have included the ability to track that against a primary document, which gives you a lot more flexibility there in terms of tracking the insurance and miscellaneous compliance records. There's also a new, this is kind of cool, new commitment compliance tab on documents, on the primary documents. And it includes things like insurance, miscellaneous, and lien waiver compliance records that are associated with that primary document so that you can add, edit, and delete compliance records directly from that tab. So another convenience there. And now Sage Intacct also generates lien waivers with negative amounts. And you can decide that. You'll see here, I'm in the compliance definition. And for the lien waiver category, I have a checkbox down here that I can check that says allow lien waivers with negative amounts. So if you have some scenarios where you need to have negative amount lien waivers generated, then Sage Intacct will now do that for you. Project contracting, billing details tab, and AR invoices. That's pretty cool because it added the ability for read-only project contract details on a tab there in the invoice billing totals. So that's very nice on an AR invoice. So when you view that, you can also create new invoice formats using the totals from this tab as well, which is super exciting. It shows you information you would typically see, like typical payment application form and continuation sheet. And so that reduces, duplicate lines, of course, because only one line displays retainage held and billed totals. Unsummarized time and materials invoices are displayed on a single line for each billed expense. So pretty cool from that perspective as well. And then there's a new option to display all project contract billing amount fields. So what does that mean? Previously in Sage Intacct, it displayed additional project contract billing amount fields on project contract invoices. Those are all now hidden. However, if you want to see them, and you can see over here on the right, there's a transaction definition. So it is per transaction definition that is powering whatever document you're looking at. There is this display original project contract billing amount field checkbox. And so if you want to show that additional information, when you click on that, then it shows things like the billing summary fields in the project contract section, the project change order summary fields in the project contract section, and then additional fields in the entries section. There's also a new template option for retainage release invoices. So now you can set a default printed document template for AR retainage release invoices. And you'll see here, this is in accounts receivable configuration. Under retainage there, we can set a separate retainage release invoice template. These are the templates that you can modify through Word in the template doc area in the platform services area. So you can assign that there and create your own retainage invoice templates. It will use it as the default. However, you can select a different template as needed when you go to print or email those retainage invoices. And invoices that do not have retainage release, they just continue to use your standard printed document template. Reverse conversions and order entry. So now you can enter opposite values on an entry line in order entry document. So for example, if you entered a line in order entry for an order of 100 units, you converted 50 of those units, and then you're like, oh, darn it, I should have only converted 25. You can go and convert that order again with a negative 25, and then that will give you the difference of 25 there in this case. And when you select the allow to reverse conversions, you can show previous fully converted lines, which will help you determine, which exact line you want to reverse. So that's another time-saving convenience functionality there. And here's where you would go into the configuration under construction, include fully converted lines on new document during conversion, and then enable that conversion reversal for non-inventory items. Now, a couple of things here. It can only be used with non-inventory items. Items that are set for dropship, buy to order, or stockable kits are not eligible at this time for the reverse conversion. And in order to reverse a converted entry line, you can only enter an opposite sign from the sign used in the original entry. They did now improve calculations in the total changes approved this month field for additions and deductions on order entry contract invoices. So previously, when your billing had a set date, the calculations included approved changes through the entire month. Now, when your billing is a set date, the calculations include the approved changes before or through that set date, but not after. So, for example, if you had a billing date set to June 15, and you have changes posted to the project contract of June 14, which by the way is my birthday, June 15 and June 20, and then you go post the billing changes posted on June 14 and 15, those will, the billing will include those changes. The ones after that date, because we ran the billing set date of June 15, right? So the June 21 in this case, those will not show because they occur after that billing set date. AP and AR aging standard reports enhancements. So basically what this means is, and this is another one where you spoke and Sage listened. And by the way, to kind of build on top of what Jen said, which is really awesome, the last statistic I heard is every release between 30 and 50% of those releases, the functionality contained in those releases comes from what Jen was talking about, where ideas are posted, they're upvoted. So it's very important. If you see something you want enhanced, go and have your voice heard. So they enhanced basically the AP and AR aging reports. So that the retainage balance, when you set the date to use, before it would just show the retainage balance and it didn't matter. So for example, down there, before if you release retainage in January and then ran an aging report with the date reused, a date to use September or just set to December 31st, it would show the retainage balance even all the way through January. Now it actually pays attention to the date to use set. In other words, it kind of acts like you would think it should have behaved from day one, right? But now it does. So it will only show the retainage in this case through December 31. It won't include those January balances. All right, and then moving on to Sage Intacct Construction Payroll. Basically, the biggest announcement here is Sage Intacct Construction Payroll Pay Stub Access Portal. So they do have an access portal for employees to go in. They can view, their pay stub. They can regenerate them, download them, that sort of stuff. So it's a self-service portal, which is really nice. Other enhancements, all checks are now sent to time and expenses for payment as reimbursements, which eliminates the need to add manual journal entries in for the printed checks. So that's a really nice time saver, as well as a data integrity enhancement. You can now change the default classification-based tax hierarchy in the entity configuration, which allows the workers' compensation code and the job or cost code override to supersede the code entered on the employee profile. The reporting data now, so this is important, it now seamlessly synchronizes with Sage Intacct ICRW whenever a check is updated. And that eliminates the need to, before you had to select send reporting data and wait for it to synchronize to the area where ICRW could see it. That's no longer a thing, which is actually really awesome. And then overall, Sage made changes to boost application performance and user friendliness. And in Sage's words, resulting in a notable reduction of payroll processing time by as much as 50%. Can you believe it? I don't know if you can or not, but either way, even if you're saving 40%, it's awesome. All right, moving on to General Ledger. Download import templates. Basically, what this means is there are now more areas. There's always been some areas where you could go, and when you're on that import screen, you could say, oh, well, I want to import, or excuse me, when you're on that screen of like AP bills or something like that, you might say, oh, I want to import AP bills, and I just want to do it directly from the screen. Now they've included more areas. So all types of journal entries, including the adjustments and entries for user-defined journals and statistical entries, in the account groups section, the account groups members section, reporting accounts section, the account allocation definitions, the account allocation groups, and the budgets. Those all include an import button now. So what that really means is you don't, for those particular areas, you don't have to go to the menu, go to company and go to import data if you were, which is, I don't know why it's called import data on the menu. And then you get there and it's like the import checklist or the setup checklist now. But if you know what I'm talking about, that's where all the templates are contained. You don't have to go there anymore to access the or be able to import from these particular areas now. And that moves us on to polling question number 3. True or false? You cannot import MEA price lists into Sage Intacct. Is that true or is that false? Again, you got a 50-50 chance. And if you're trying to get CPE credit here, you need to answer 3 of these out of the 5, as well as attend the entire time. All right. Woohoo! Good job, folks. Yes, the answer is false. That is the new and improved. You can import MEA price lists, which is actually really cool because otherwise, before, if you wanted to change those, you had to go and manually change them, which was a huge time suck. All right, moving on to inventory control. This is actually really cool. They have come out with some new inventory utilities. I'm actually going to show you these in just a second that help you troubleshoot things like inventory valuation, general ledger balances, landed cost amounts. There's 3, utilities consist of 3 tabs. There's the transaction definitions tab, the GL subledger reconciliation tab, and the landed cost tabs. And basically what it means is each one of those tabs has several reports that you can download into CSV. And so I'm going to actually kind of fast forward through most of this because, again, you'll get this deck. This is just showing an example where how you could, use, this is showing the flow. It's showing whether it's increasing or decreasing the quantity on hand. And so in this case, like I can see the purchase order and the invoice increase the quantity and not the value. So therefore, I end up with a value that doesn't match the quantity when I process a purchase order or an invoice. And the return reduces the quantity and the value, which compounds the problem because the value was never increased to begin with. And so that's just an example there. And again, you'll be able to run through these examples once we send these out. On the GL subledger reconciliation tab, like I mentioned, there's a big filter here, and you can download lots of different reports. We'll take a look at those. But transactions posting to the GL, valuation by GL, post to inventory GL accounts not made by inventory control. I like that one. Running average cost and open periods report. And then on the landed costs tab, there's a list of reports you can pull down there that shows the landed cost bill, the adjustment transactions, the target transaction ID, landed cost amount, and the adjustment amount, if any, and then other details. And so one thing, for example, that you could look for in this report is the landed cost transaction with no target transaction. So for these transactions, the clearing account was increased, but there's no target transaction to reduce it, which means you're going to have an issue there, right, with the clearing account. All right, so I want to jump back here real quick and jump over here into Sage Intacct. And this is the new inventory utilities area. These are the 3 tabs that I just talked about, right? And then so on transaction definitions, there's the transaction flow graph, transaction definitions by GL group, definitions by account, and transaction definitions. So to give you an understanding like what the flow graph looks like, I just hit the download button. It's now going to open this up in Excel for me. And you'll see this is pretty, I actually like this a lot because it's going to help you troubleshoot, why you have like out of balance issues or, that clearing account or, the quantities are off or something like that. So it's showing me, what's going on in here. And when on order is increase the quantity, on hand is increasing the quantity and the value, it's great for troubleshooting all your transaction definitions from that perspective. If we move over to subledger reconciliation, again, I can filter these by things like start, end date, item, warehouse, and location. And then I could pull down things like transaction posting to the general ledger, or by evaluation by item or GL group or by account. So, whoops. For example, if I click on the download for transactions posting to GL, that's going to quickly show me a report here that's showing me all kinds of cool data by document, item, cost, method, warehouse, et cetera. And it flows off the screen here. So point here is, and if I go over to my landed cost, again, all sorts of filters like start date, end date, location, and then I can see my landed cost transactions. We'll just quickly jump into that report here. And this is an example of that in my demo system anyway. So landed cost transaction, what's my adjustment, my target transaction ID, the landed cost amount, adjustment target item, quantity, et cetera. So it's going to have all of these reports really going to help you troubleshoot issues between inventory and things like, landed cost, your GL accounts, your general ledger, that sort of stuff. Okay, moving on into purchasing. Jen, my friend.
Yes, so it is here finally, PO matching. So I remember prospects asking me about this, in like 2018, et cetera, and it is here now. So we all know that there is the OCR bill capture feature within Intacct, right? You can upload, you can have your vendors or you yourself forward bills to your Sage Mail account, and then the OCR will automatically create those draft vendor invoices. So now this early adopter for automated transaction matching has been expanded to take a look at existing purchasing transactions and perform matching capabilities at the line level as well. So expand to line level detail. So definitely, if that's something where you were sort of waiting to add on that OCR bill capture because you're utilizing purchasing and the functionality when it was first released was not going to work with purchasing. If you're waiting on that, then please do reach out to your client manager and we can get you set up in the early adopter program. Alrighty. And then notifications upon purchasing approvals. So previously, again, this is more, additional abilities to have email notifications. We talked about this in the AP section. When you uploaded the transaction through AP automation, while Sage Intacct creates the draft purchasing transaction for you, you didn't receive any notification, right, if that transaction was approved or declined. So now you can configure the settings to ensure that you do have those notifications. So it's kind of a two-step process. So make sure that in the purchasing configuration tab, that email notifications is checked off and enabled. And then each user can configure their settings to be able to receive those notifications as to approvals or denials. So now we're going to switch gears and talk about the time and expenses. So again, additional user permissions to unmask bank details. So now this is a checkbox that admin users have access to, be able to permit or deny users to unmask the bank details, so that they can unmask the employee creditor account number and the employee record, custom reports, and the audit trail. Next up, we've got enhancements to bank file payments. So there's a new import template available. Again, this will be within the company setup import data feature for you to enable employees for bank file payments. So you can add the bank details for employee expense reimbursements and then upload those bank details via through this new template. Okay. Now we're going to switch gears to financial reporting.
All right, thanks, Jen.
Sure.
This is actually super exciting to me because I've always been really into one of Sage Intacct's superpowers, which is reporting. They've created the ability to save versions in the financial report writer. Up to 100 versions is what it will save for you, and then it'll just start kind of overriding those. So the most recent 100 versions of that. And the cool thing is you can do things like see version history, which you do by, and I'm going to demo this in just a minute. You can hit more actions, hit version history, and then once you're in that version, you can't make changes to that version. You can restore it though, and then make changes, and then save it as a new version. But you can preview it and things like that. The thing to recall or to note here is that this is starting now. So if you want versions to record a version of your current reports, you need to go into those and hit save, and then it'll create, a new version for you automatically. And that can be your version day one type of thing. And this is where it looks like when you've restored something, it shows, version 5, current version, restored from version 3. So I like this a lot. Being a former SharePoint admin, and that's one of the things I loved about SharePoint was the version control. So they also have concise general ledger revaluation reports with new summary format now for those that have multi-currency situations. So now there's a new summary format where it summarizes and groups your data by account, location, and transaction currency, which makes for a crisp, clear GL revaluation report that's easy to scan, particularly in those companies that have high volume of foreign currency transactions. Now includes the option to show a concise summary of foreign currency transactions, and basically the gist here is it's summarizing all of that data for you. Here's an example of what that looks like, so that you can see it's very easy to see at a quick glance if you have a revaluation issue or not. There's also now an improved process for setting up report schedules. So basically what they've done is the report schedule won't generate, it checks to see that the schedule and will not produce more than 31 reports for the past due date. And so suppose you create a schedule today and you're going to run that a daily report for a year. At the end of the year, you look at it and you go, hey, I like this. I'm going to continue to do that. So you go in, you modify the schedule by removing the end date, but you forget to change the start date. So it's starting, like from 2 years ago, right? And so now it's going to go and create a report for every day, all over that period of time, which you've already generated reports. So what it will is limit that to 31 reports in that instance. And Sage chose 31 because it's going to, for the most part, it's going to cover a full month. All right, that brings us to polling question number 4. How many versions does the new version history that I am so excited about for financial reports store? 50, 30, 75, or 100? You got this. I know you've been hanging on every word Jen and I have been saying. You haven't been multitasking and checking email. And look at that. Woo-hoo. So over half of you got the correct answer. Good guesses for you, you other folks there. It is 100 versions, which I think is plenty. And then it'll just keep overriding those versions. So it'll be the last 100 versions that were saved. All right, well done. Moving on to Sage Fixed Assets Management. So this is interesting to me. This is not the Sage Fixed Assets that some of you may have, and it's not the Joseph Eve Asset Edge. It is literally a new fixed assets module that they came out with last Friday. And so, in my opinion, and you're just getting my opinion here, it's ready to go for some folks, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, and not for others. But the advantages here are you get an asset dimension now, and that is actually super exciting to me because I'm, again, big on reporting. It does do multi-book depreciation and automatically post depreciation. And the cool thing is it's totally native. I don't know if you folks know anybody that's got the SIG financial assets module. It actually was a third party that Sage Intacct purchased and then just incorporated. That's why it has a little different look and feel. This, as you can clearly see over here, it's just like any other module. It's natively in the system. And so therefore easy drill down and all sorts of stuff like that. So it may be a fit if you have less than 5,000 assets, you don't have fixed assets or asset edge, and you're okay with just using straight line daily 150% or 200% declining balance methods. It may not be a fit if you're heavily looking for bulk disposals or transfers or asset revaluations. And it's definitely not a fit currently for more than 5,000 assets, although that is on the near-term roadmap. And like I said, if you're using fixed assets or asset edge, you cannot use this yet. It's on their long-term roadmap to create a migration path off of both of those onto the Sage Fixed Assets Management module. It's also not a fit for those that are looking for custom fiscal periods, things like 445 or 544. If you're using the construction in progress functionality or see a use for that in the future, not a good one for you. I'm assuming they don't say it, but I'm assuming they're going to build that in the future. Same thing on asset barcoding, splits, and partial disposal. So the way I look at this is kind of like the first release, and they're going to be eventually replacing, the SIG Fixed Assets 1 module, and they're going to be incorporating all of that functionality down the road. When that's going to be, can't tell you yet, but it is pretty cool that it's going to be a native module. Sage Intacct Real Estate. You can now run it from within Sage Intacct. Before, there was just a link from within Sage Intacct that would bring up the Sage Intacct application. For those of you that don't know, Sage Intacct does have their own real estate application. It is a separate application, kind of like for those of you that know about Sage Intacct Planning, where it's kind of a separate application. It's like that. But now you can run it directly from within Sage Intacct itself. Other ones, you can change things like options on properties, units, leases, things like that. You can do lease enhancements where they've got these emails and notification dates on the lease insurance section. You can preview the journal for GSC. It now shows summary totals there for quick and efficient analysis. You can paste into date fields, which saves you time and ensures accuracy. You can roll back property creation. Well, the system does it automatically for you. If for some reason there's a failure when you're creating a property, you can reactivate a unit in Sage Intacct Real Estate if it's inactive in Sage Intacct. So you can do that from the Sage Intacct Real Estate app. There's a new current rent field, which on the unit setup, which helps for a comprehensive view on your property details. There's a unit activation, so you can add the unit ID before activating the unit now. That wasn't a thing before. They've just made the workflow smoother with various improvements. They now stop you from generating scheduled charges if that's already been run. That process has already been run, which is actually really helpful. And then you can export functionality or deposit listing now. And now over to Jen.
All right. So this is coming soon. Sage wanted to announce that they have their own proprietary integrations platform. So they are going to start building out some just common integrations that they see that might not be reflected on the marketplace. So they are going to start with the first one being HubSpot CRM. So they are working on that soon, and they will start to announce, these different integrations that have been built out as they come available. Okay, so and forms and operational workflows, that is also coming soon. So this will be something where you could put out a vendor contract for bid, or maybe for grant makers, send out, grantee, applications. And then those folks would use a portal to access forms that they can fill out online. And then those forms can also be routed using your own sort of tailored workflow in terms of the approval of routing that needs to take place. So then once approved, the relevant financial data will then go ahead and just flow right into the relevant applications within Intacct, whether it be purchasing, maybe AP, GL, et cetera. So the first few that they're going to work on are relating to vendors or grantees, maybe scholarship applicants, et cetera. And then they're going to be announcing more, as time goes on. Okay, PSA automation. So that is also coming soon. They're going to leverage the forecast functionality, as well as artificial intelligence, to help you learn from successful projects and also from losses, and learn from resource utilization patterns, and really help you guide future planning. Really will assist to mitigate risk, look into the future, help you plan out future projects better using the patterns of delivery, determining critical success and failure factors, and really help to optimize those opportunities. It really will help to keep the whole team on point, and tailoring their efficiency planning, scheduling for individual team members, et cetera. So this professional services automation with AI powered resource management will be coming soon. Okay. And then this platform application tutorial. So the platform application, those are people who they want to add their own customized module into the menu structure, into the platform of their Sage Intacct environment. There is a updated tutorial. So the tutorial is available already, but has been updated now to help you become familiar with platform services and learn how to create an application. So that you can find on the developer website. Okay, so custom help. So did you know that you can add custom help into Sage Intacct? So now there's a video in the release notes that you can look at to understand how to add your own customized instructions for end users into the help content. Okay. And then smart event log. So previously there was an installed application package that you would need to have installed to look at object changes and create an audit log. Sage is working on a solution where you don't have to install some kind of an audit package. So in the coming months, they will block the installation of those audit trail packages and prevent execution of the events associated. But then obviously the upcoming change will be that you will not need to have a package installed to be able to access these events that will trigger those object changes and that the audit trail log. User interface. You can read through the list, but there's a number of different label changes just to make things more clear, more consistent within inventory, within projects. Just changing some of the language to make it more sort of globally reflective. For example, the catalog of federal domestic assistance is now going to say assistance listing number. There's some other things that have been moved to the contract billing details tab, just so that just to make things a little bit more clear for the user and help enhance user interface. And then list enhancements. So I encourage you to go to vendors and try the beta interface for the new list view. So really we'll be able to allow you to personalize your views, leverage enhanced filters, manage the list, record details side by side within the list, and much more. So definitely go to vendors and turn that on and give it a try and send feedback. Okay, so new helps in the Help Center. There's some different new content. There's new videos, user roles, permissions overview of how they work together in conjunction to with in-depth content. Voting accounts payable, that's also a hot button topic as well. As new videos for troubleshooting budget imports, 1099s, etc., and adding custom help as well.
Awesome. All right, we know we're running at the top of the hour here, so quickly, you can add custom help to Sage Intacct. Is that true or is that false? No phone a friend, sorry. Okay. Yes, it is true. Great job. All right. And then really quickly here, just to let you know, remind you, we have Armanino Academy, great classes you can sign up. You just go to our website and you can check that out. You can follow that link once you get the PowerPoint. And then if you have any additional questions, reach out to us. Jeremy Anderson or Shoemaker, they're both ready and willing to answer your questions. If they don't know the answer, they will certainly find out. And thank you so much for joining us today.